instead you go ahead and drop it, then all of those items will exist on the floor.
I'm not flying. I can even show you I'm not flying. But like, even like this in it. Like, look at this. I'll do it again. Did it once and I'll do it again.
I didn't actually see them get it with my own eyes.
And then I just.
It's true. That's how remarkable the feat is.
And I can stand here.
If you're playing Bedrock and you push your chest into a shulker, this happens. Which is not safe for sure, since in Java, we can
wait, Jeb is sitting on the nothing.
If you want to create an abomination, you're going to have to stick to Bedrock. If you're not prepared, the Wither can be a tough boss to fight. But one of the biggest pain points of fighting this thing is just how destructive it is. So if
you can literally jump on the
behind a giant crater, then I suggest we take
Jeb! No, Jeb with 2 underscores. Okay, I almost killed Jeb with 2 underscores. My last Jeb with 2 underscores already died. I don't need another Jeb with 2 underscores to die. Oh yeah, I was in the middle of making a... I was in the middle of making Minecraft parkour out of every block. But I did not finish this.
For some reason, that would cause the mob to sink into the ground. And unfortunately, we weren't any safer. Since if a player was squashed by a fallen block, he would just fall through every other block in the world.
Okay, you're gonna be the new Jeb.
And then die in the void. The only ones who are safe are shulkers. And maybe that means their shells are better for armor than we thought. And portal frames, much like Bedrock, are supposed to be unbreakable. Though, just like Bedrock, that unbreakable tag is really just a suggestion, not much of a rule. And sure, while we could in theory break these the same way that we blow up Bedrock in the nether roof, much simpler option is to find some fungus and some bone meal to do the job. If you sprout up a big red mushroom like such next to the portal, you can wipe out
Jeb, I'm gonna give you a bone if you come here. Come here, Jebby. Come here, Jebby.
Now, if you were to get hit by falling anvil, it's gotta hurt. And while that's true for us, it's not as much for the villagers. Or at least if you compare the two, in Bedrock, if you drop an anvil on a sleeping villager...
Okay, it's not letting me do that because I'm on mobile, but... Scream and shout and let it all out. And scream and shout and let it out.
You could actually get squid milk. Now, it wasn't a separate item called squid milk, and it definitely wasn't ink, but there must have been something that went wrong with the code.
Oh, hey, Jeb. Jeb. Wait, is Jeb the only one left alive? Oh, no, I just made all the others sick.
Bedrock Edition is known to have more than a few quirks in its code. And while some of those can be infuriating, others are just hilarious. Like
who wants the Jeb name?
No joke. If you start swimming in the water column,
when did I adopt this guy? Okay, you know what this guy? You know this dog? Okay, let me just tame you so you can sit. I'm going to name you. You are going to Freddy Fazbear. Oh yeah, Freddy Fazbear took my Fazbears. Okay, now get it!
Like place these ghost blocks and appear like we're levitating to your friends. Or jump off of high cliffs and take no fall damage whatsoever. And then the best
here, doggy. No, look, there's something that always happens. I don't know why. Look at this. I don't know how it happens, but it happens. Here, doggy. Okay, he's not coming. But look.
But strangely so, for a brief period of time back in 1.14, that wasn't the case.
Hey, going.
Bug tracker, most people thought that was the end of it. But that's not
look,
the end of the
this
story.
always happens. I don't know why. Look at this.
And then just continue to play through all the different versions of Minecraft. Then, as it goes,
what the heck? See, that's what keeps happening. Like, okay, now where is?
So if you played Minecraft back in 1.14, you definitely have something.
There should have been a Mumbo's video of like inconsistencies from real life in Minecraft. Dogs don't teleport. But where is Freddy Fazbear? Can't find Freddy Fazbear. There's Freddy Fazbear. Oh, I think you're Freddy Fazbear. No.
I'd be sure to keep your distance away from the creepers.
Jeb. Where's Freddy Fazbear? Oh well, you're gonna be the new Freddy Fazbear. I was planning on having an untamed dog named Freddy Fazbear, but I had to tame him to let him sit still. But I found a new person to be a Freddy Fazbear.
Top of the scaffolding stack, you'll eventually see a floating bit off in the distance. Now, this isn't a real block.
Doggies versus doggies. Let's see. Alright, it's doggies versus doggies. Oh no. Okay. Okay, why are the doggies so much stronger than the doggies? Sure, if I see Jeb die to Wolf in the chat. Is that Jeb? Is the guy getting jumped Jeb? No. Oh, Freddy Fazbear. Yeah, you're gonna die.
Put ice in the nether, it would melt and then turn into a water source block, which was fixed in 1.3, but we would eventually get water in the nether once again through this snapshot with a glow light in. Though that got fixed too, so it's definitely something Mojang's trying to keep an eye out for. In 20W22A, there's a glitch where if you log into your Minecraft world with the clouds turned on and then turn them back off, and if you do that correctly, the clouds should stop moving on screen. That is until you move.
I dug this hole for Freddy Fazbear. You can't go in it. So I'm supposed to be Freddy Fazbear. And yes, I actually called him Freddy Fazbear. Dumbass. There, my hole for Freddy Fazbear is done. What is that dot at the top? Is that like a true shot?
Like constructing a big wall of blocks, those aren't always the prettiest.
But why is everyone so dumb? They keep drowning in lava. Everyone's so dumb.
And that alone will stop the monsters from getting any closer, which is ridiculous for
or maybe that's just what it's called when they fall off a cliff.
As you'll see, back in the beta snapshots for Bedrock, there was a glitch that
there you
allowed
go,
to see any goats that got nearby. So even if they can't eat fireflies, at least the goats weren't poisonous.
Already.
Patched out. Since there was just some leftover prototype code, you were to place fences underneath the end portal of the stronghold, then when you drop any kind of fallen block like sand or gravel on top of it, notice that when you jump through to the end side of the portal, you'll be collecting duplicates of that same block. Though to do this, the fallen block has to fall from more than 6 blocks above the portal. If you fail to do that, you'll just be stuck with a singular sand block. That's just sad. Now, on this show, we've talked plenty about the different quirks and idiosyncrasies that you can find in Bedrock. And with the 1.17 update came a slew of new ones. To see as such, take a look at this axolotl here. Now, if we were to tie up the end with a lead and pick up...
Wait, this video was not supposed to be that long.
Still have that leash attached. And the reason being is that in Bedrock, all of the NPT data is saved when you put the mob inside
Okay, now, does it say he tried to swim in lava? No, so they're just actually getting in this lava and burning to death. I found someone who's still here. And he's not even dead. Oh my god. Jeb, you can't die. Jeb, I'll lead you over. I'll lead you over to where you're supposed to be.
I think this was a good job at both. I must be a bad trainer, because no matter how many times I try to tame wolves, I can never get them to sit still. Though the reason for that might just be because when you summon a wolf on top of a slime block and you tame it, you can't actually get it to sit down. Since the way that the slime block works, it's a little bit less than a full block size. And that confuses the wolf's hitbox so that it sits down and then stands right back up. I can't say I blame them. I also don't want to sit down Nickelodeon gag. Instead of training with your villagers in the overworld, you should train with them in the end. For the simple reason that if you get a villager set up like this and then use the end teleporter gateways, we're able to easily keep trading with the same villager without it ever timing out. And the best part about this
who is this bro? Oh, there's Jeb. Is that the actual Jeb? I know Jeb tried to swim in lava. Okay, that's the replacement Jeb that I just made. Where's he? Jeb, come here.
So it might take some time to set this all up. This definitely could be a design that saves you time in the future. This lock is called Reinforced Deep Slate, and in certain snapshots, it was possible to push around this unbreakable block, meaning that we can move this around to make our very own wither cages in the overworld. Though that was changed in snapshot 22W13A. Here's how you get infinite obsidian, at least infinite obsidian back in 2012. Since the
hey guys, doggies, dogs, I retrieved Jeb. I don't know where he is, but okay, let me see where Jeb is. Is he still on this?
Whatever your life looks like, the new espresso collection by KitchenAid.
Is that Jeb? That's Jeb. Bro, when he follows me, That's not always great. Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks found dead in his Las Vegas apartment. What?
Hey, boy.
What do you want?
What's your name?
Some will call me SM33.
Well, SM33. I have some bad news. I
Jabari,
killed your captain.
Most unlikely. You seem ill-favored for combat.
But it's true. I stabbed him right in the guts and threw him into space. Which makes me your new captain. Right?
What am I to do with these stowaways?
Jeb! Hey, doggies, I retrieved Jeb. Well, I definitely didn't. He's a new version.
Nonchalant dreadhead.
It's true you may challenge the captain to a battle to the death.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Because you just said nonchalant dreadhead.
Just using a standard cobblestone generator and then placing a piece of redstone
And?
dust with a cobblestone.
Yeah, nothing.
Infinite obsidian.
I'm
Now,
not
understandably,
done.
this got patched out at 1.8, but infinite obsidian is still possible.
Oh,
You're just
do
gonna
you even
know what that
and
is?
a whole bunch of nether portals. Sprinting backwards, well, it sounds
It's a
crazy,
one-word
but
answer.
with a glitch, it's possible. See, the community's found a way that if
Do
you
you even know
sprint,
what that
you
is?
immediately jump in the opposite direction and actually sprint
It's a one-word
backwards on
answer.
bedrock, which can
Do you
come
even know what
in
that
handy when you
is?
need to escape from a prime creeper explosion.
Nonchalant dreadhead. Do you
Be
even
sure
know
to
what
be
that
careful
is?
not to run into any unwanted
You
captures.
just said it's a
This snapshot
one-letter
shows
answer.
how when
One
you
word
respawn.
answer. No, I said one word. I keep saying one word. If you hear one letter, then you're deaf. It's a one-word answer. It's a yes or no.
Existential enough, you could also kill yourself by simply punching. You're in a deathmatch with them and say that you were killed by you. Honestly, dying was the most
Yes. A nonchalant person.
Dreadhead. I said nonchalant dreadhead, so you don't know what it is.
Use a bundle to duplicate all of your
No, I wasn't done speaking.
And then use the bundle to pick up the individual items in the crafting table. At that point, we still have our 9 diamonds in our inventory, but the diamond block will remain in the crafting table. And now we went from 9 diamonds to 18, giving you a short track to the new richest person on the server. I would just suggest moving. I don't think the IRS takes kindly to diamond duping. As it is, it's pretty tough to get a beacon to work in the nether, since you've got to clear out all of the netherrack above it. But in the past, it was even worse, since back then, the beacon beam wouldn't even go through the bedrock. So to even get it to work, you'd have to remove the unbreakable block from up top. And thankfully that was corrected in 1.8.2, so you don't have to rely on a glitch to make this happen. Looting 3 is an amazing enchantment, which makes it a real shame that Mojang only intended it for swords. Though even if Mojang intended it one way, that doesn't mean we have to play by those rules. Through the help of the offhand function, it's possible to throw a ranged weapon in our second hand and still illuminate a neighbor. From there, whether it's
Intended it one way doesn't mean we can't play it the other way. Get what I mean? I am not
So I you have to see to try to see.
Check out what the silly Phoenix
Yeah.
admirers are up to.
What I do want to show you is, you know how they're trying to put hardcore into Bedrock Edition?
It's such a funny thing.
It's the
so
weirdest.
impossible. Bedrock players for no reason.
Most certainly. What year is it? 51. Ah, selectable. Indeed.
Yes.
Oh dear, what is it?
Yeah, I mean, literally, you spawn in and you'll be totally fine for 10 hours straight, and no matter what armor you're wearing, you can just start taking damage, and there's nothing you can do about it because you'll be stuck in some chunk miles away that you forgot about, and the game says, no, you're just dying now.
They first of all, it's funny they misspelled hardcore. So
Misspelled it?
they misspelled it as HARCORE.
Hardcore.
Hardcore.
Yes. If I were playing Bedrock and I would even see someone else dying unfairly, I wouldn't even think about turning that button on.
Recently, I think there's just been a lot of posts of people showing videos of them randomly dying on Bedrock Edition.
I love those videos so much, though.
Yeah?
I remember,
Wait, you've seen them?
in one of your latest videos, you showed me, like, there was a clip of a guy just trying to mine a block in his house, and like 4 or 5 times it kept coming back. It's the funniest thing ever.
That was literally like a week ago.
That's so good. I love that so much.
I feel like that could have just been also just their device lagging.
Well, whatever it is, it sure as hell's Bedrock.
So, for example, okay, so this one is...
You got me excited now. I love these videos. These are my favorites.
They know of the problem.
But it's real.
And they just played it up. All of these are real. Authentic.
It's so stupid. Oh my god.
And I think what's happened here is that that had happened to them already. So they're like, oh, I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'm just gonna do it again because there's something up with that spot in their world.
I wish you tried a different area. It takes a second once they landed for them to fall. My theory is that server obviously calculates them actually falling, like until the white concrete. That's what I'm thinking. So somehow the
Minecraft Bedrock Edition makes over $100 million a year for Mojang in microtransactions alone. Meanwhile, Minecraft Java had its logo changed from this to represent that it's just one edition of the game. I have played thousands of hours of the Bedrock console and even one for the 3DS version of Minecraft, and each of these are unique and special in their own way, but what isn't is Mojang's treatment of them. Despite huge complaints of Mojang preferring the version that makes them more money, I think the truth is actually somewhere closer to the opposite, and to prove that, let's look at the way they bug fixed the game. Mojang allowed iron golems to spawn in more places on Java, including on glass, and there was a huge outrage from the Java technical community, and so literally 2 days later, in the next pre-release, they managed to fix it very, very quickly indeed. Meanwhile, on a similar time frame, Mojang broke the way the maps display for the player in previews. This was just after 1.21 came out, where you needed a trial chamber map, and so you needed to know which direction from the trial chamber you were, but Mojang had this bug which made it impossible to see which rotation you were while you're outside the map to see if you were facing it or not, but also made it so if you were far enough away, your map marker would eventually disappear altogether. This meant you could get a map to a woodland mansion that would just not have any player marker on there, making it impossible to ever find. Just saying, there is a woodland mansion in your world. This is ridiculous, and so obviously Mojang doesn't do daily bug fixes on the Bedrock version, but the next week's bug fix actually did not fix this at all. And then 1.20, 1.30, despite all the complaints, managed to come out with this feature in there, despite it being listed as a bug, despite it being complained about, and despite it not being listed on the changelog. This made maps worse, and then fun fact, after it rolled out to all of the millions of players, they realized that this is a big deal, and so they fixed it in the next version, except I'm joking, to this day it is still broken, but it's entirely fine, because those of you who play Java will say, well, that's the Java way. Actually, that's how maps are meant to be, although I think Java players would actually prefer to see their player marker with the rotation at all times on the map to make it easier to see where they're going. And indeed, they might like to put horses and boats too, because players will complain, and Mojang ignores this, while many beloved features on the Java edition remain missing in Bedrock to this day. Why are you able to build on the roof of the Nether only if you're playing the one edition of the game? Why can you only hold 7 or 8 items in your offhand on the Bedrock version, meanwhile you can hold literally any in Java? Why can you only pause the game on Java? How is it that the pause menu only works on one version? Meanwhile, there is no problem adding a new button to the Bedrock version of the game, even top edition, that allows you to do emotes, which, by the way, you can buy for real-world money. If you're curious, by the way, like, no, it's okay, you made a mistake, the pause button's right there. If you press this pause button, not only does it not pause the game, but it prompts you that maybe you'd like to buy something in the marketplace while you're here. In what world is this the preferred version? How can anyone look at these facts and say that Bedrock is the one that Mojang puts more attention and love into? Well, let's go through the features that have been added to both Java and Bedrock in the last 6 months, and let's see the difference in how they've been implemented, because this is the most crucial way to see how they treat the game, not just in how the game exists, but in how they update the game as time goes on, because this is one of the beauties of how Minecraft does what it does. And so let's start with the Pale Garden, which exposed to most people the difference between Java snapshots and Bedrock previews, which is to say they are very different systems, but Mojang treats the Bedrock preview
reviews like they are the underclass of this, and the best proof of that is the Pale Garden in both the generation and in terms of the texture, because they were both added to Bedrock and Java with a small delay between them, but despite the Bedrock version coming out later, it was actually an earlier version of both the biome and the wood set. This was confirmed to us by Japper in this speed right here, confirming that the Java version has the current iteration and that eventually it will be fixed in a later preview for Bedrock. Why did this even happen in the first place? Well, it used to be that both Bedrock and Java would independently start developing the update and then try to make sure it was the same later. However, quite a few large features were added to Bedrock that couldn't be developed for Java easily, and so they had to remove them in the end. And to avoid having issues like this, it seems as though they have started working on features for Java first and then porting them to Bedrock if they're able to. This kind of removes one of the big benefits of Bedrock as a platform, but even more crucially, this doesn't actually cause the state of go to happen, because Java gets all of the features first and only a few features end up coming out for Bedrock first. But more crucially is when we move into the second weird thing, which is different between versions, you realize that they're only replicating the major features that you might spot. And friend of the channel, Asian Mindstorm, has put together this fun table which shows you the name for a Java sound event added over the last couple of years, then the Bedrock sound event name, it lets you know if those names match, and then lets you know if the implementation actually matches in any way. So let's now take a look at the creaking, which was of course just added, and all you can see right here on this list is all of these different sounds are differently named between Java and Bedrock, and then also have different sounds entirely too. Either the pitch differs, or the volume differs, or in the case of this one sound, the parrot imitating the creaking, the volume and the pitch are different. This is kind of a crazy change if you think about it, because it means that somehow, while recording audio files and then just disseminating them to the two versions, somehow they implemented it in an entirely different way. It's literally just an audio file. It's as if you found out that a texture was different, and oh yeah, it turns out the payload was very different. This is seemingly just a normal thing for Mojang, and do you know what else is seemingly normal? The trial chamber encounters. Do you remember the Tricky Trials update that came out in the summer of this year? Did you know that there were some changes still being made to the structure after the update was released, such as the adding of an entirely new predator type called the encounters? There were 5 of these, and these actually came to Bedrock first in a preview. Woo, Bedrock! This is one of the few times they got something major. It was very fun to go through and find all of these, but this feature actually ended up getting removed, as it started causing some serious issues with existing trial chambers in people's worlds. But get this, the Java edition still got them added to their snapshots, and as there were no issues with them in the world generation, they decided to release the updated version of the trial chambers in 1.20.1.3, while the Bedrock edition still has it missing. There is no known date that they are going to be fixing this for Bedrock, and at time of recording, there is just a major feature that was added to Java but not Bedrock, and which they don't seem to have a major solution for. This is the kind of problem with the game going through so much work to get clarity to happen, and it's the fact that when you go through so much work to do the same, but then don't actually achieve it, you go through most of the hard work without any benefit. And another great example would be the bug fixes. It is widely known that Minecraft Bedrock, or Bedrock as some people call it, has a large number of bugs, and this is something the Mojang developers are aware of, because they have a bug tracker where you can actually report any issues you have with the game, and this is what allows developers to go in and fix them. So there are actually tens of thousands of bugs for both Java and Bedrock, but one of the most notable things is that Java does a little bit better with fixing bugs. That is the conclusion from the public at least, but it's something I wanted to test, and so I decided to look at the 1.21.30 changelog for Bedrock, and just for fun, include 1.21.40, which are roughly equivalent to 1.21.2 for Java. Java releases fewer minor updates, but they seem to have slightly bigger ones, at least when it comes to bug fixes, because by counting the lines on both of these Bedrock changelogs combined, we got 152 bugs fixed. How many were there in the Java edition? 433. Now, you could argue that this means that Java is buggier if it needs so many bug fixes, but I think that by and large people say, no, yeah, this is just a case of Bedrock finding it harder to fix the bugs that they are creating, because keeping up with making the features seems to be harder over there. Is there perhaps a deeper cause for that? Well, I think we could look at hardcore mode to get a good idea of this. So hardcore mode was just added to Bedrock in the second half of this year, which, just a reminder, is 13 years after it was added to Java. And I guess we could say better late than never, but some people would argue, actually, no, this isn't true. And to prove this to you, here is a really fun issue which can happen to you in hardcore in the current version of the game.
This is the Virgin Games Development Hub. We run hundreds of tests, so our players get the most thrilling experiences. We're serious about play. Serious about play.
Okay, this is really bad, but you've got to conclude that, yeah, not many players are using a trident with Riptide. It is incredibly handy, especially in the rain, but you know what? It's not that big of a deal because it's not like it's going to account something players do every day, right?
Wait, I've been recording.